Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. Today, I'm bringing you the my seventh episode of Candice Owens Unleashed. So, this time, we're going to be talking about propaganda and the dangers of ignorance in the midst of insidious social program. That's what we're all under a cabal of social programming, or commercialism, political, cultural, trying to get us to do the things they want that benefits them, and mostly financially. And part of that is breaking the family up into individual units, which is hurting every kind of thing in terms of society. But I'm gonna let Candice go ahead and go through some of that. But before we get started, I'm gonna have a little clip of her, and I might stop it in between here and there to say my little piece. But what I think about what she's saying, how I feel about what she's saying. So I'm not going to say all of it, but I'm going to put her full video in my description so you can go and look at the whole thing and subscribe to her channel and pick up some of the nuggets that she has. Now, I know a lot of people are not Candace Owens fans, especially if you're Black. And I was the same way. But every so often, she says some things that, regardless of whether you're Black or not, is something to take heed of. She's on point on a lot of different things, and even on issues that have to do with Black people, she's on point with a lot of them. BLM was one of her biggest gets, and she was right about that, even though I was against them from the beginning as soon as I read their manifesto. But anyway, so all I'm going to say is like, share, subscribe to my channel, put some comments in there. As these video goes out, feel free. We can have a discussion whether you agree with Candace, whether you don't agree with her. What do you think the future should look like in the United States of America, way things are going? But I'm going to just go ahead and let you guys listen to her. We're going to just go ahead and do a little reaction. And I want you to, like I said, she has a few things on here, but I'm going to just play this one little clip for a couple of minutes. I might stop it here and there, like I said before. But like, share, subscribe to my channel. And let me just tell you that on my community tab, I have a poll question I'd like you to answer. So do that. And without further ado, let's go.
So lately, Baphomet has been trending sporadically throughout 2024 on Twitter. I think most recently because King Charles premiered his painting and people were going, I see the horns of Baphomet. Maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't. I kind of do really see it, but some other people that work with me don't. The point is that Baphomet is a sabbatic goat, a deity, first drawn up by a man named Eliphas Levi, who was born in 1810 in France. Now, Levi was an occultist. He wrote books on dark magic and the Kabbalah. I'll let you take a listen to this exorcist, Daniel Rehill, who sat down with Michael Knowles for an interview. Take a listen.
So when we talked about the transgender, I don't know if you know this, but one of the ancient images of Satan is Baphomet.
Yeah.
Okay. What is Baphomet? So he's got the goat head. Yeah. He's got the women's torso with the breasts and the man's down below. So that's not a new thing. So imagine the devil, he identifies as transgender as that image.
He is correct. And to reiterate that, Baphomet, again, is a humanoid figure with a goat's head that embodies both genders. And it has the breast of a woman, and it also is depicted as having both male and female organs. Now, we're not going to get too much into the history of Baphomet, but suffice to say that Satanists worship this deity via sexual rituals, which include sodomy and homosexuality. So we look around the world today and we suddenly feel that there is definitely a certain agenda being pushed, specifically in the West. And I always recount this conversation that has stayed with me for a very long time. I was walking down the streets of DC, where there is a lot of pride. And I was with a Romanian young woman, and she said genuinely, like not to be offensive at all, she was asking me this question meaningfully. She said, why are there so many gay people in America? We just don't see this out East. And I thought, wow, what a interesting question. And she is correct, because I have been to Romania and you don't see that. And now some people would argue, especially people that are on the left, well, it's because they're all having to hide because the society is so backwards and so traditional. Okay, it doesn't matter where you stand. It's the question itself that is interesting. And what I have noticed as of late is that androgyny is definitely getting the Hollywood treatment. I mean, I think it was before my show went off air, I was covering Kristen Stewart. She recently was on the cover of maybe Vogue, maybe Vanity Fair, doesn't really matter, but she was promoting her new movie and she was so proud because she was portraying this butch lesbian. But even the way the writer was talking about how Kristen Stewart, like the real Kristen Stewart, not the actress, was behaving throughout this interview, they were adding these little sentences about, oh, she sits down with her legs spread wide open and cracks open can.
Let me stop it right there for a second. We all know about a major corporation that has ruined several franchises by putting ideology and wokeness and gender identity and all of these things above the storyline. And they turned on their fans. And so what I'm saying is that, and she's making that connection, that Hollywood is part of the cabal of of purveyors of this propaganda and misinformation to try to desensitize the population against what's happening. I mean, we're living it. You can't watch a movie without it. You can't as a black man, you can't see a new black character and see whether, and you guess whether he's going to be a man who loves women, if he's going to be a deadbeat dad, if he's going to be a gangster or a deleter or whatever the hell he is. The last thing you really think he's going to be when you watch Hollywood about some certain black men is whether he's going to be a stand-up leader of people, of men. That's why I believe that shows like the Black Panther never really wanted to replace Chadwick Boseman because he set a narrative of a black king who was fully heterosexual and a man leader. They didn't want that in Hollywood. It's really not an extrapolation against what Candice is saying. This is just my opinion. That if you're not effeminate as a man, definitely you can't be a white man unless you're some kind of villain. For sure. You're almost excluded out of Hollywood now as the leading guy. So in certain shows. So listen, then whatever they're pushing here, she's going to go into some more details, and I'm going to let her go ahead and start. So that's just my little piece because she mentioned Hollywood, Kristen Stewart, a lot of actresses, androgyny, all that stuff. So here goes. Go ahead, Candice. You say.
Can of beer. This very androgynous depiction of Kristen Stewart. And of course, we also see this in the education system. They are pushing gender theory. You can actually get a degree. Could you imagine spending six figures to get a degree in gender studies? The children are learning about what it means to be non-binary, not bound to any of the sexes or any of the genders. And if you are a sensible person, by now you are concluding that something bigger seems to be going on, which makes Cat Williams' interview with Joe Rogan fascinating. Now, I'm going to have to ask you to park aside the fact that Cat Williams is clearly high out of his mind because Joe Rogan does allow people to smoke while he is interviewing them. But what he is talking about is interesting. And what he is saying is that he knew that transgenderism was going to be pushed in Hollywood before it was actually pushed in Hollywood. Take a listen.
Things are secular, so I understood that the earliest I had seen that word transgender was Baphomet, the transgender. And so I knew that in the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ass ring.
Really?
And it said both of those things. So I knew that both of those things will become popular in the future, and that somehow calling people the GOAT would be normalized over the sheep being always the most popular reference.
Suddenly you have a bunch of Hollywood types trotting out their children, and they want you to know that their children are either non-binary or their children are transgender. You've got J-Lo. She's got a child that is somewhere in the middle. You've got Ben Affleck, who also has a child that does not identify as their sex. You've got Charlize Theron, same exact thing, spoke about how she knew that her child, because they were swimming in a bathtub and looked up in one day and said, "Mommy, I'm this," that they obviously must have been the opposite gender. And of course, Caitlyn Jenner, when we think about how they sort of glamorized Caitlyn Jenner coming out, it became a Hollywood story, it became a part of the Kardashian story, which leads to the question of who is it that sets trends? Are trends natural? Do you think that they happen by accident? Well, I can tell you where I am at. I've been very open about the fact that the book Chaos, which is required summer reading if you are a listener of the show, that book broke my brain. It is both terrifying and clarifying at the exact same time.
I bought this book just to interject. I did it on tape because listen, I need stuff to help me while I'm in the bed so I can calm down, so I can listen to a book on tape like this, as opposed to my busy day trying to read it and all that kind of stuff and get through it in a nice, timely fashion. Some people read like that better, but I love the books on the streaming books, the audio books. I just started to get into it, so there's no excuse not to at least get the information spoken to you. So I have this one, and I got a whole slew of other books that I have. I bought some physical books, so I have to read those. But from now on, for the most part, I'm gonna get books on tape. I call it on tape, but audio books. And this one is a must because I believe in social engineering. I believe that we've been subject to it, and a lot of people are ignorant on how prescient the Matrix movie was, right? In terms of art imitating life. We are all plugged in, and most of it is that we're ignorant to the fact that we're plugged in. And one of the things that we find out when we're unplugged, it's not pleasant having knowledge and awareness with the veil of your ignorance removed, because now your excuses are taken away for the things you do because you've been programmed. So it's up to you to deprogram yourself. Like I had to be deprogrammed from believing that the Democrats ever had any of Black people's best interests in mind. They don't. They want us to keep us as victims, for example. And if they lose that victimhood, if we lose that victimhood and open our eyes to say that we can do anything we want as Americans, and even if we have obstacles, we just need to open other doors that strengthens you. So anyway, so we're all under this puppet master regime, and they know how to impact different segments of the population differently. And one of the things they definitely know how to do is pit us against each other based on race and things that don't matter. So, because really the big divide is class. Anyway, let Candice finish.
It makes you realize that the 60s was really an era where demons won. Talks a lot about the hippies generation, the long hair, the fashion. And when you think about that generation, it very much permanently edited the tastes of American culture. It was this countercultural movement. And I think about that because my granddad, when I asked him before he died, like, what actually happened? How were people of your generation just the best people ever who worked hard, kept their families together, and then everything changed, granddad? How could this have happened? And my granddad looked at me, I'll never forget this. He said, it was those damn hippies. And yes, they were this countercultural movement, the first that attacked the tradition of family and religion. That's what I would say. It was this focus on breaking down family and the Christian faith in America, and it was successful. And what you learn when you walk away from that book is that they always have used celebrities and big events to usher in mass psychoses. You can think about this with COVID. Who were the people on Instagram that were rolling up their sleeves? I got my vaccine. Have you gotten yours? And then everyone's like, oh, should I do it? Because this celebrity is doing it. So I definitely should trust that this is okay. That is a form of idolatry. Trust these people. These are your new gods. And of course, teenagers fawn over these celebrities, long lines. I was a part of that. I had celebrities that I was obsessed with, just like it was with the Beatles. They brought in the long hair, free love, LSD. Forget your super religious parents. We're having fun. This is all about freedom. And people listened. People got right into line. I'm telling you guys, it is really important to read that book, Chaos, because what I walked away with was an understanding that what the 60s was a spiritual battle that was waging in our country. And unfortunately, as I said, the bad guys won. They won Hollywood, they won media, and we've really been playing catch up ever since. And once you read, digest, and accept the information in that book, then virtually everything else becomes plausible. I'll give you an example. If you had asked me before I had read that book whether or not the conspiracy theory that the Beatles were a government controlled operation was true, I would have been like, are you crazy? What do you mean the government controlled an entire group? And now I'm like, no, of course, absolutely. They were a part of a government psychological operation. And further to that point, which is not in this book, by the way, is this bizarre fact that the doorman when John Lennon was shot, Jose Perdomo, he was once the chief of the Secret Service in Cuba. He later on joined the CIA. Oh, gosh, I guess that's just an accident. That key witness who saw what happened was CIA. Anyways, don't need to go down that dark rabbit hole, but suffice it to say that there are a lot of other interesting, compelling elements about the Beatles, weird covers. This cover that they did, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and they had all sorts of people on the cover, psychologists, Carl Jung, Albert Einstein. He's made some contributions. Marilyn Monroe, she ushered in some things in the 60s, certainly, if you're thinking about her relationship with JFK. Aleister Crowley, that's probably the craziest one because, yeah, he was an occultist. Why did they pick these individuals to go on the cover? Who knows? What I can tell you for certain right now, if you are not awake to the fact that we are once again in a very severe spiritual battle, and I am talking about angels versus demons. Let me tell you something. If you are fighting demons without recognizing that they are, in fact, demons, then it's the figurative knife to the gunfight. You are bringing a knife to a gunfight. They have used decades of psychology, education, Hollywood idols, and scientific theories of evolution and enlightenment to draw us further and further from the truth. But I have faith. I have faith because we are openly talking about these topics. I think everybody is recognizing that the evil just seems to be more in our face than ever before. And I think this time the angels are going to win. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic.
So let me stop that right there, okay? Listen, we all know that the music that we have today, especially the rap music, is ratchet. It's full of ideology, demonization, hatred, bigotry, bloodshed, all the kind of things. And the artists who purvey this, why are they so big? Why do they get so much pub? Who are these guys? This stuff is not even memorable music that anybody's going to refer to or way past, a month or so. And then it's the new thing. Your Sexy Reds, your Sukihanas, your Meg Thee Stallions, your Cardi B's, the people that they prop up are not the kind of people that we revered in the past. Even though the people in the past had their own demons, the music they made didn't lead you down the path towards destruction, right? And that's all that's getting propped up. And who are the cabal behind the music industry that props these people up, right? It's all programming. We're desensitized to so much stuff that's bad, and in the Black community, there is actually a gender war. It's a gender war in general between men and women, but it's a case study of male, female self-hatred in the Black community that's unparalleled anywhere else. And there's going to be books written about it. I don't think there's any way that we will come back from it in masses, because the propaganda against us being together, the demonization of our relationships have been so powerful that only a few of us are going to ever be able to overcome it before the days of where we could really be meaningful by having great families and great marriages together just might be over. Anyway, I didn't want to say too much more about this one, but it was a good one with Candice because propaganda and social engineering is all around us, but most people are too ignorant to see it. And there is some bliss in being ignorant, even if it's the most dangerous thing for you. And with that, I'll say our pain, marriage, politics, and sports, over and out.